welcome to the second edition of StartUP Stories, the monthly chat with entrepreneurs about their journey, challenges, and experiences. My name is Rachel, and I'll be your host. And today we're actually hosted in the great location of Studio Start on the Naamsestraat. Might be why you're hearing a little bit of background noise from the buses passing by. If you're following online and you have any questions, please feel free to just pop them in the chat on Discord, and then the team will follow up and feed those through to me at the end. And if anybody here following live has questions, then if you keep them to the end, and then we'll tackle them there. The first guest speaker for today is Sebastian Bass, the co-founder of Extract. Extract is a startup based in Leuven that focuses on sustainable aquathermal heating and cooling strategies. They support the transition in heating and cooling from fossil to renewable energy. Moreover, they develop software-driven strategies to implement their aquathermal solutions in regions, cities, and buildings. That's quite a mouthful, and Sebastian will tell us a little bit more about that later. I just want to also introduce our other speaker, Jan Paase, who's founder of Beerhive and co-founder of Viva Brews Belgium. Beerhive is a unique mobile app where you're able to taste beer and store your findings, and then you're also able to compare, discover, explore, get suggestions, and share your thoughts in groups about the beers that you like the most. Next to that, Viva Brews Belgium combines different aspects of beer and wine, and together with Mark Keltermans, they decided to have the best of both worlds in one bottle of Viva. That sounds really interesting. Jan, do you want to tell a little bit more about that?
The second one is actually linked to the first one. We did quite a lot of data analysis on taste in beer. And what we saw is that in Belgium, every week there's a new triple, a very particular kind of beer. You compare it to a flock of sparrows in the evening, but all these brewers are in this flock. But the interesting parts are in the white spaces. So that means that there are certain taste combinations that have never been brewed yet. That's what we saw in the data. It's actually one of those combinations of taste that we've brewed. So basically, it's an AI-based beer. What we've brewed.
Wow,
yeah,
sounds interesting. And how did you land in this journey of beer brewing? Did it just happen, or?
Well, actually, the best ideas come from a frustration. I'm a big beer lover, obviously, but I was really frustrated with the apps that did exist already. The most famous one is Untapped. Maybe some of you know them. The thing with these, I use it as well, but they're very rating based. So you give stars. I give 4 stars, 5 stars. But the fact that you like a beer doesn't mean necessarily that I will like it. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to have more insights. Why do I like a particular beer? So our app is completely different, that it describes what people are tasting. I recognize the aroma of lychee or whatever spice in a beer. And actually, that's often the reason that you like a particular beer. So I was more interested in what are what's the reason that you like a beer, and that's what we try to do in our app. So it's not pure a rating-based app. It describes taste of beer, and then based on these insights, it's going to predict what you're going to like. And we've tested it with an audience, and the results were really, really rewarding. People said, "Yeah, how did you know this?" Well, actually, it's data.
Oh, lovely, nice. And did you always have the idea, like, I'm going to go into entrepreneurship, or how did that happen?
Yeah, actually, yes. I think it's a bit thanks to my parents. You don't see that. My mother, she was a hairdresser. It's a way of being an independent. And my father, he was a car dealer, also independent. So I saw they were always working, and in their way of work, not high tech technology, but it was. I saw how it worked, and being independent, it's really nice. It's tough, but it's really, the freedom is really, really nice.
Nice. So you were kind of born into it.
Yeah.
And how was it for you, Sebastian? How did you come into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I wasn't planning on doing it when I was a kid or when I was younger. My parents were also not like your parents, I should say. But for me, I think my main goal was to do with something with climate and with the environment. And when there is an opportunity to do something in that, I will take it. And if it's like a normal job, then I would definitely have done that. But then I got the opportunity through my thesis results to make a company out of our model that we created there. So actually for me that was the push. But then also, like, I think your environment has a big impact. And as a kid, I didn't have the environment to become an entrepreneur, but I traveled to, or I lived in New York City for my Erasmus experience.
Nice.
And that's like a place where everyone is so excited about things, and you see the passion of everyone, and everyone is so like driven on the streets and go for their goals. So I started to have that feeling like, okay, I want this as well. I want this drive in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that, and combined with the thesis that I was doing there as well, that gave me the decision. Okay, maybe I want this.
Yeah,
and I did.
nice.
Yeah.
So Extract was actually born out of a thesis project.
Correct.
If I understand.
Yeah, it is. So what we do is like we model the potential of rivers or lakes to be used as a heating or cooling source by using heat pumps. Then in the end to give it to buildings. And so, like, we are specialized in this modeling, and our first model that we made came from this thesis. And it was also with a very good friend of mine that we developed it. So we were friends, and we had like a very, how do you say it, like complementary skills. He was very good at developing. I was very well at structuring every like path of the road that we had to go to finalize it. And then we decided, okay, if we can make this one model work, and it worked pretty well. We also won the Flemish Thesis Award with the thesis.
Wow.
So we saw the recognition, and then we decided, okay, it's good. So let's do something with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sounds really interesting. Is there anyone specific at the moment that you're kind of like looking up to, or that has mentored you along the way to help you in that?
Yeah. So we're with 3 co-founders. So it's me, then Jan, my thesis partner, and then also Stan de Jonge. He's a professor at KU Leuven still,
Okay.
but he was also our co-supervisor of our thesis. And we also matched, like, we had also like complementary skills in the thesis to guide us actually. But he became also a friend of mine, and I got to know him better at a postgraduate that I did at the KU Leuven after the year of my thesis, where we also brainstormed about creating a company out of the model.
Yeah.
And he was really a mentor to me as well during that year, and he still is. So he's like my colleague, but he's really a friend and a mentor as well. And he's very good at like guiding people, not only me, but other people in directions in their life. And he's, in my opinion, very good at it. I think he did a good job for me as well.
Yeah, nice. Picking on that complementary idea, with your co-founder, is there a complementary
Yes,
thing
absolutely.
there
So
as well?
both in Beerhive as in Viva, we're very complementary. So I'm more like the business development strategy. We have a technical guy in Beerhive, and we have a data scientist. So that's 3. What we were lacking, and that's maybe a good lessons learned already, is real hardcore sales. We thought we have a very, very interesting concept. The product stands, everybody loves it, but and we thought it will sell itself. But sales is a different ball game. Definitely, our business model is B2B based, so we reselling data towards breweries, towards big retailers, towards web shop builders. And it's a different métier. So it's a complementary we were missing. We turn it around. So yes, we were very complementary, but we were lacking some skills as well.
Yeah.
And in the second project, we had the same issue. So my colleague is a real bioengineer, a brewer. And again, there we see that we are lacking sales skills. So that's the complementary of business acumen, technical, I would say, but then definitely you should have in a very early stage strong sales skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that would be maybe then a challenge that you've experienced along the way. Are there others that stand out to you?
Well, challenges is a lot of people always say the startups, they're longing for funding. I think the biggest challenge is not the funding; it's winning your first deal. It's doing your first project and getting the first references. And you should not turn things around. Do that first, and then it's easier to find the funding. Because people always say, there's a funding problem in Belgium. I don't think it's and the incubators, they often also focusing on getting your first deal, your first project that's really important.
Yeah, I see you nodding.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
you have the same experience.
Yeah, I think like what you say about investors, I think it can be a bad idea to look for them because then you're not growing like organically anymore.
Yeah,
If you start from like projects and then build up from there and get more projects because of the references, that's a way more sustainable way to grow. So I would recommend that to people to not focus on the investor part that much because that's like the main thing that people always talk about when you're like starting a startup. Oh, who are you going to talk to for the investment?
yeah,
But try to maybe do it in a different way. Try to pivot the idea to make it work with a first good project and then build from there.
yeah. Closing deals.
Obviously, the money part is important, and we just had a small
Yeah.
conversation as well. I compare entrepreneurship a bit as running a marathon. You have to be sure that you'll end up to the finish,
Yeah.
and the finish is 3 years. Count 3 years, but you have to make sure that you can overcome the 3 years.
Yeah.
And your bills need to be paid. So the money part is not unimportant, but in the first phase, you just get your projects, get your first references, and then the rest will come.
Yeah.
But yeah, the money part is important, and
Yeah.
in a concept of finishing the marathon.
Yeah.
You need a good like jump to start running, and then you need like the audience with the money to
Yeah.
to guide you to
Cheering
the
you
end.
on
Yeah.
the sides. Come on, come
Exactly.
on. Nice. All right. So those are the challenges. What do you find have been the positive parts about being an entrepreneur, Jan?
Well, it's the freedom. Everything you do, you see the immediate impact. You have to protect yourself against your own nature. Entrepreneurial guys, typically, they always see possibilities and then they go from left to right, and you have to keep your focus. But the fact that you make your own choices, what this focus is,
Yeah.
and then do things and see the impact and be rewarded
Yeah.
or be hit if it's not the right
Yeah.
decision you took. That's very rewarding.
Okay.
Now and then it can be lonely. Obviously, you have your partners, but since they are complementary, often they are in a different
Yeah.
aspect of your. It can be lonely. Hence, I would also recommend seek for sounding boards pretty early in your entrepreneurial journey. It can be the incubators, and there's loads of them in Leuven. We have you can list them. If the banks have incubators, the city has the knowledge institutions they have. So join them. You have good sounding boards there, and have advisory board as well. This is I would recommend they will in periods where you have ups and downs, and in your downs they will help you. Say, it's a marathon. Take it easy. You have a good idea. The money will come, and also get access to new networks, because you have your own network, but often they open up other networks.
Nice. For me, what should I understand under an incubator exactly? That's not clear to me.
Well, incubators are often typically the common denominator. They often offer free training, free advice. Some of them often offer space. They often
Like KBS is
KBS
started.
Organizations that
Kik
offer
from
free.
KU Leuven is one.
Exactly.
They often also give free perks. You get I don't know, for a year free licenses to marketing automation tools, those kinds of stuff. But at the end, that's money. It costs it's quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they negotiate with the technology vendors, and it's a win-win. Because once you're hooked up to a technology platform, when your startup is growing, if you've built your architecture on their technology, and actually you become a customer.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Focusing a little bit more first on extract. Why did you decide to go into the field specifically about sustainable renewable energy? What was it that piqued your interest?
So as I told before, like as a kid, I was really interested in like the environment, and like the interest kept on growing, and then I wanted to help for creating like the better world from that part in my own life, like trying to be vegetarian and stuff like that, and try to do as many things as possible. But the thing is there that you can do a lot of things in your life, but the best thing would be to also do things in business. So then I became an engineer, and I knew I wanted to work for a renewable energy company. But then I had the opportunity with a thesis to build my own, and that's, I think, the best way to create impact, because you can define your own goals and your own strategies. So working for a company doesn't enable you to do that. Like he said, also flexibility and going for those goals, and you have to watch out that you don't create like a lot of them and do too many things. But if you have a couple of them and you go for them really strictly, then you can achieve great results.
Yeah,
and that's
nice.
what I like.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it sounds very unique what you're doing. Is it very unique?
Well, we get that question a lot actually. Like heat pump technology is not unique. Like it exists in Europe. It's like all in the news right now with current gas prices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's existing and proven technology. What's a new thing about what we do is we are coupling it to water source,
Yeah.
to rivers, lakes, and canals, for example. While before it was just air source heat pumps, like air conditionings, or ground source heat pumps nowadays. But it does exist, the connection with the water as well. For example, there's a city in Norway, it's called Drammen, and 60,000 people get their heat every year from the heat pump, based on a fjord. So it's just like the sea entering into the village. So it's a proven technology as well with the water connection, but it's fairly new in like our area. And that's also our USP, because when you are using the water as a source, it's really important to measure the impact of it. With the air, like it flows away. With the ground, you can statistically like balance it. It's like a statistical way of modeling, so it's very easy for engineers. But the impact on rivers or lakes is very dynamic and very hard to model, and we were able to do that.
Yeah.
So that's our USP, and that's
Nobody
why.
else has been able to do that. Have you
There are companies that are busy with it, but they don't see like the market potential to
okay.
develop strategies for it. So again, like the technologies that we use or that will be implemented in our projects are not new; they are proven. But what we model is pretty unique.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Is there anything specific that you're being aware of, like in culture-wise within the startup, the business, and how are you implementing that?
Like culture-wise, in like the company, how we do
Yeah.
things. Yeah, I think like we were three friends with the same mindset.
Yeah.
So we all like to care for the environment and stuff like that. So that's the main like culture idea of our company. So I think when we are going to hire like people in the future, I think that's going to be important for us to have that mindset in that as well. So I think that's the main thing, and enjoying the ride. I think that's so important, because it's so difficult sometimes, like having a startup and all the like setbacks and then the ups and the downs. It's like an attraction that goes up and down, like going to a pret park, like an attraction park. But you need to enjoy it, like also the going down. If you remember that, then I think you have a great culture in the company.
Cool. Is there anything like a specific project or something you're currently working on? I heard that you recently went to Colombia, was it? Is that linked to anything specific that you're working on?
Yeah, I still feel the jet lag.
Oh.
So I arrived on Saturday.
Okay.
So I'm just back from Colombia, and I was there for 1 week for work, and then also 1 week for traveling. But so for work, we are having a project that is funded by the Flemish government, where we investigate the potential of the whole of Colombia for the water sources that are there for sustainable cooling, because in the country it's more like cooling demand instead of heating, like in Belgium. And it's together with another company called Turbulent. They're also Leuven-based, and they're looking at hydropower. So generating electricity from the rivers there, and combined we deliver actually a very nice combination of renewable electricity and cooling.
Yeah.
So you have the total package for cities there, rural areas, small villages, and we had lots of meetings to define all the stakeholders in the projects that are needed there. For example, the Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Environment, different investors. So it was pretty cool.
Nice.
The first business trip as well. So
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
cool.
a lovely country.
Jan, moving over to you. Beerhive, can you tell a bit more, like, because you said it came from something, your own frustration. How did you then define, like, who you're going to target? Is it just, like, people like you, or how did that happen?
It's a good question, actually, and also recommendation. What we did is we had an idea, we had a prototype. It was not really a working prototype with an implemented backend and stuff. So it was just nice screens.
Okay.
We had some user scenarios, which if you clicked, it went to the next screen. So basically, it was faking the app.
Yeah.
And what we did is we went to a big beer festival, like 10,000 visitors.
Wow.
We had a booth there, and we just showed it. And we said, look, this is a really nice app. And what do you think? And I'll show you what it can do. It was actually pure fake. And then we were capturing feedback. And we were saying, what do you like? What don't you have this? And then we were noting. And at the end, we made a complete redesign of our app. And then we really start developing it.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty nice way to get started. And immediately when we launched it, we were spot on because we had captured quite a lot of feedback already. So that was really nice. And that differentiates us, I think, as well from other apps. So there's two big beer apps. So there's Rate Beer and there's Untapped. They have loads of, Untapped, they have, 50 million users. We have 6,000 users.
Right.
But in our business model, the quantity is less important. We prefer to have 6,000 good tasters on our platform
Yeah, they're
than 6 million who say 4 stars, 5 stars.
Yeah.
Because what we are actually, our business model again is we sell the data towards B2B, towards brewers, towards retailers.
Yeah.
Do you need to assign then if you want to become a taster? Like, can I download
you
the application?
You can download it, and what we've developed an algorithm to see whether you're a good taster or not. So
Wow.
you put in your analysis and your first one, second one, and we benchmark you on a bunch of good tasters.
And if you're not a good one?
No, you can continue adding your analysis. But
Alright.
in the data algorithm, you will not be counted.
I see.
So basically, the algorithm makes itself smarter and smarter.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit the competitors. Has that changed somewhat over the?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to be naive. You have a window of opportunity, and constantly this opens up and closes because competition is looking at you at a certain moment. Because we were very much based on this descriptive. So you like something, but why do you like it? And because there are certain aromas. And then one day we saw Untapped doing this as well. I don't know whether they got their inspiration from our app or not, but that made us think again, okay, what should we do next? So and you constantly need to re-challenge yourself and watch what competition is doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think especially in the app world, in my experience,
absolutely.
you're constantly looking at what the other's doing, how we're going to adapt.
And also make sure that you pamper your fans.
Yeah.
Listen to them, listen to their feedback. We would like to have this new feature.
Yeah.
That's already the 5th fan that says, okay, let's try and see what it takes to do this.
Yeah.
And then start communicating about it, and then you create more fans.
Yeah. Okay. And then moving over to Viva Brews, were there any other struggles that you had with that product?
Yeah, the biggest struggle is that we actually launched something which has never been done before, which was we launched a beer at the price of I would say a good Prosecco, a good cheap champagne, I would say. So to give you an idea, a bottle of Viva, so a big bottle, cost €18.50, not because we're taking so much margin, but because it's a very expensive product to make. We use grapes that come from Italy, so we have a high quality product. But in the mind of a Belgian, this is crazy. €18 for a beer? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
We are spoiled. Beer is less expensive than a Coca-Cola, for instance, in Belgium. So they go like. So actually making this market of a premium beer that's really premium is a very big challenge. And I don't know whether we will overcome it. So you have to pivot yourself constantly. So we're now mainly focusing on export.
Okay.
Because in other countries, if you go to Scandinavian countries, for instance,
they're used
to these prices, and it's so you have to refocus as well.
Sounds like a completely different audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
specific target audience as well.
Yeah, we target Michelin star restaurants with the product. So it's not the ordinary pub, with all due respect, but
no, Nice. Is there anything else that you're working with Viva Brew? Something?
Yeah, we
new?
actually, I put in line what you said. We in June we go together with Princess Astrid on the royal mission to New York and Boston to have because the interesting thing about Viva is it's actually an AI implementation that gets physical. You can take it, you know.
Yeah.
And I really like the story that from data you build a very traditional Belgian product, which is beer. So we will be joining Princess Astrid on our royal business mission to the US in June, and our ambition is to find a distributor in the US.
Nice.
Then it becomes interesting if we succeed in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did the product development actually happen? Because like you got the data, but then is that like literally an automatic translation into
Recipe?
this? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So we got the data, and actually we got 40 interesting theoretical recipes. So it's pure theoretically, sour with the aroma of a grape, and another one was well, might not spoil it because we will be coming with other beers as well based on data. And then we had, so that's the complementarity of my partner. He's a bioengineer. He started interpreting and he said, Jan, this is impossible. Technically, you cannot do this.
Yeah.
Okay, drop it. And then we had a few recipes left, and then he went into a lab for 3 months, and we started iterating with real implementation of the recipes.
Mm-hmm.
We had tasting audiences,
Yeah.
also very segmented, elderly, young people, men, women, different nationalities. Tasted something very, if you ask an American guy if something is hoppy, and you give the same beer to a Belgian guy, an American say, no, this is not hoppy, because he's very used to very hoppy IPA beers, and so your bias is very important. And then suddenly we came like, this is it. And then, we launched it, still with a bit of, we were a bit scared. We were in full COVID.
Okay.
All the restaurants were closed.
Yeah.
Which was an advantage as well. So every disadvantage has disadvantages. All the nice restaurants, they were closed. The chefs, they had time to meet you. And they say, come in, let's taste.
Yeah.
And so we went to first Michelin star restaurant here in Leuven, Couvert. And the sommelier, he said, guys, this is really unbelievable. I've never tasted a combination like this. And we were like, yes, the model works.
Yeah.
So and then your self-confidence grows, and then we start producing more, and now we're fully operational.
Yeah.
And so it is a hoppy beer.
There's not so much hop in, no.
Because like when I was in New York City, like a lot of people, like you said, like love it.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be like tricky maybe.
For
there
them,
if
it's good not
New York
work in the
and
US because of their standards.
their taste
Beer
standards.
should be hoppy.
Correct.
And we come with some completely different taste
Maybe they like
palette.
it.
Yeah.
Nice. So, Sebastian, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to people that are having problems building their own startup, or people that might have an idea but really don't know, like, okay, how do I make that first step? What do I do?
Yeah, I think like advice is always like it can be pretty specific, but like in general, if you might have an idea and you want to go for it, I think like just try and fail, but never fail to try.
Yeah.
Because you never know if it works out, and if it doesn't, like for me that can still be the case because our company is like only 8 months old, more or less now. So like you said, like you have to wait for the 3 years to really know if it's good or not when you have run the marathon. So I think like just try it, and if it fails, you'll learn so much, because that was also like, do I start working for a normal job or do I do this on myself? And also like everyone in my environment, my parents as well, said that if you would fail in this, then you actually didn't, because you gain so much more than you would as the normal thing.
Indeed.
So that's, I think, an advice, just do it. And then like finding that complementary team. If you're struggling with finding a team, I think that's not a good sign. You need to like really think about it for a long time if you want to do it with a complementary team. So do it, but like with a complementary team if you want to do it.
Yeah,
Or
I hear conflicting things. I've also heard some very complementary and some like two people that are super alike.
Yeah.
But because they have this enormous
Drive.
idea and drive that it does work.
It can work, but like you also said, that you need like a salesperson
Yeah.
and different skills there, and also like starting with 2, I think you can do it, but I think it's not a magic number, but 3 is a very good one. I think with 2 you like never have, if you're this cute, like have a discussion, and there's never gonna be like someone that gonna be saying like, guys, let's
different opinion.
let's cool down or something like that, and have a different opinion indeed. And if you're with 4, that I think that still works, but it starts to get a little bit bigger and maybe have too many ideas.
Yeah.
But then once you start and if you do it, I think it's also like, I think it's a quote from like Ford, like whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. So just like if you want something really bad, then I think it mostly works out.
Yeah.
So just then go for it.
Nice. Good advice. Jan, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would have done differently?
We mentioned already sales, do it pretty early. I also agree, fail, don't be afraid to fail, but fail fast. And pivot on your business model. I had to give an example with Beerhive. We didn't have a business model. We were just really freaky about data and taste of beer. And suddenly these costs start, and we had to pay Amazon servers and stuff to do all the calculations. And we said, shit, we need a business model. And and we thought, we're gonna sell through this app. We're gonna sell beer. It didn't work. Shit, we need to pivot. Then we thought, okay, let's do advertising on the app. It didn't work. We were like, nah, this is not working.
No.
And then again, we were on a beer festival, and there was this guy, was a Scottish guy. He had a Belgian beer pub in Edinburgh, and he said, you know what my biggest problem is? I have staff and they don't know shit about beer. And I have 300 Belgian beers. And I was like, hey, this is interesting. The guy actually, he needs a kind of knowledge tool about giving recommendations to customers. And I said, well, we have all the data. That's the business model. And then we start building on this, and that was the business model.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to pivot, but pivot fast. So fail fast.
Yeah.
Don't give up, but pivot on your business model. If you're convinced that there's value in your product or solution, pivot fast on your business model.
Yeah. Is that not like then a complete 180? You develop this app without thinking, okay, we're going to need all the data and we're going to be being able to pull it out of there to then having to do that?
We were, in a very early phase, we were well aware of the fact there was value in this data.
Okay.
But we didn't see yet where the money was. And also, maybe also a recommendation is it's much easier to do a startup where your money comes from Bs than B2C.
Yeah.
It asks less marketing investment. Often, if you win one customer, you always have cash, and you can start investing again and go for your second. So also investors look. I once were in Berlin talking to investors, and they also said, well, first the criteria, if it's B2B, we more positive on the case than B2C. Also try, even if you because our app is for consumers, and you would say, hey, that's a B2C startup, but actually your money is in the B. It's with the breweries, it's with the retailers. So try to think as well, where is the B money, and can I maybe reach for that?
Yeah.
Because often that's bigger contracts, maybe less margin, but often bigger volume, bigger contracts, more cash.
Yeah. Okay.
Longer sales cycles.
Yeah.
But if they fall, then it's
and less fluctuations. More sustainable.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. You both have very different experiences and products, so very interested to know kind of what a day in the life, or maybe possibly more realistic, a week in the life of an entrepreneur looks like for both of you. Sebastian, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I think it's like it's busy, of course. It's a lot of things. Like you do, we're with 3, like still, and that's typical for a startup. That you start with not like having every position that you need. Like for example, the salesperson. So you need someone that's able to do it like a little bit, of course, and has passion in that. But you probably won't have that guy. So there's someone that needs to be doing that, and then there's someone that needs to be a graphic designer. So for me, for example, like day in a week, week in the life for me is like going to clients, working on projects from my computer, doing simulations, also like looking for business development with other clients that are not clients yet, but also like graphic designing and stuff, like managing the website, because it also costs a lot to hand out these things. So
very different tasks.
it's very different. And then the goal is to be structured in the unstructured.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how do you organize that? Do you have like a very specific planning time to?
Yeah, I do like to plan things, but mostly like I take my time to plan a week, and then it never ends up to being that week.
Yeah.
But still, you had that plan, and you can maybe pivot. So you make sure you do everything that you plan in that week, and it might shift a little bit, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like, if you're gonna be someone that wants to stick to a plan and it doesn't work out and you're gonna be stressed about it, that's also not good.
No.
So you have to watch out for that. So I think like planning is important, but being able to understand that your plan probably is not gonna be 100% effective is also important.
Okay. And for you, Jan?
Yeah, it's hard work. It is hard work. The weekends don't exist. There is. Very sorry.
You have to be always on.
No, weekends don't exist. No, but the thing is, I would not put things too negatively. There's a way to overcome this. I recommend to time box things.
Yeah.
I have a family. I have 2 kids who I love, and I want to see them grow up as well and spend time with them. I time box stuff. So on Sunday morning, I know I have to do X, Y, Z, invoicing, blah blah blah, and they know this. And the afternoons for them.
Yeah.
But try to time box stuff.
Yeah.
And make sure that you keep the balance as well, because it's a marathon. And make sure that you.
Correct. Yeah, you need to take time. You need to take time to rest.
Yeah,
if
I've
you
heard.
Don't do that,
yeah,
like people saying like I'm doing all nighters and like the whole week.
No, not realistic.
Then that's
no,
not gonna work.
No, I've also heard. I was listening to a podcast from other entrepreneurs, and they were saying that they had also kind of tracked the activities that give them energy, and to make sure that there was a balance. That you're not completely drained on one day and then completely overloaded on another.
It's a good idea.
So
you need to think about like the values that you like and see that they're in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. Are there any common characteristics that you see in yourselves that when you talk to other entrepreneurs that you're like, oh yeah, that's something that often, you match on or you sync on?
I think the drive.
And restlessness.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very restless. In a positive way, I always see the opportunity. So, that's interesting. Why is that? And I see that with a lot of entrepreneurs. They're very curious.
Yeah.
And
curious mindset.
Oh.
They tend to wonder why. Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
I used to be on trains seeing behavior and then ask people, why are you doing this? And they would look like me. Why are you asking this?
Stranger talking
it's
to
interesting.
Me. Yeah. Curious and drive.
Yeah.
Nice. Lastly, do you have any life hacks, business hacks, to get yourself organized to do things that you can share?
For me, it's like I use an application, like we implemented it in the company. It's called Notion, and for me, it works so like effectively.
Love Notion.
To do business development, to like organize tasks, to have like your all the people that you ever talk to, you can like manage it in there and know on which day you did what and like project goals and stuff like that. You can like do everything in there. I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
So that helps me.
I'm a big Buffer fan. Buffer is a tool where you can basically put all your social media ready on, because again, it comes back to on Saturday morning, I do my social media stuff and my content marketing.
Yeah.
So I put everything ready on Saturday morning, and Buffer makes sure that during the whole week, it looks like we have a whole team that's constantly doing content marketing on the right moments for Twitter, for Instagram, so it's very convenient. It helps the buffer, the time boxing way of working.
Yeah.
And there's loads of tools. There's some interesting sites. If you want afterwards, I can send them over. Maybe it's interesting to have some lists. The guys from KBC started. They have a very interesting list, and it's getting longer every day of tools that you can use as a startup.
I think there are so many, but you also need to like choose a few
Yeah.
that you like, because if
Absolutely.
you are using
Yeah.
Too many.
a lot of them,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like using Teams and Zoom and,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all that stuff. Like
And
it's
switching from one, and it's not working. Okay,
Yeah.
next. And then
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
just get overloaded with
Yeah.
setting it up every time. Cool. I've got a few questions here through on the chat. For Beerhive, what are the benefits for the users of the app?
Yeah, that's a good question. But the app will learn you to understand why you like a beer. And in that way, it will also make you discover beers that by definition you will like as well. I'm going to give an example. We were on a big, again, beer festival. A lady approaches us and they say, what's the best beer on the festival? There were, to give you an idea, about 2,000 beers on the festival. What's the best beer on the festival? I said, well, that's very personal. But what are the beers that you like already? And she gave us a list. We ran it through a model, and the common denominator was coriander, the aroma of coriander. So we looked up on the festival, what are the beers with the most explicit coriander taste? We said, well, these 5 beers. I said, but come back, give me feedback where they were. And she gave me a hug. She came back, how did you know this? I said, it was the model that predicted. So that is what's in for customers. You will learn why you like a particular beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's different to other apps.
And are you seeing like a common, in marketing you say an ICP, an ideal customer profile among the ones that you're saying are engaged and are giving good feedback? Is there like an ideal?
In our case, it's often the beer geeks, and they are often male. We have some female as well, but often male, between a certain age. But still, it
Like
varies.
I said before, also like the good tasters that like if you do like the tests,
Yeah,
you need a lot of like the good ones to
yeah,
evaluate them. very
yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Cool. A question for both of you. Where do you want to be in 5 years, I would say, or where do you see your company, or is there I mean, can you look that far forward as a startup, 5 years?
It's difficult, but what's interesting, if you talk to an American startup, often they go like, yeah, in 5 years I hope to sell and I want to be rich, and An interesting part that's different with Europeans. I was in the Berlin startup scene, and then the guy, was a startup called Dawanda. They are in the do-it-yourself business, so you can sell your do-it-yourself. I don't know what you knitted a jumper or something. You can sell it, but you can also put the pattern on so that others can knit the jumper. And I said, and he was employing 250 people. I said, what's your dream? In 4 years you want to sell? And they say, why should I try to sell? I employ 250 people and I live just around the corner. I can get my kids from school every day. Why would I sell this?
Oh.
And I really like this. And there's a different
mentality
coming in startups as well. The ultimate goal is not anymore selling and becoming rich. And it can be having a sense of purpose. I really love your sense of purpose. And why not just do this the rest of your life? Maybe why not? So I don't have an ambition where we should sell this. I like beers and I like data and it's best of both worlds. Viva the same. So my partner he worked for big corporate breweries. He hated it.
Yeah.
And now he says, well, if I can do this my rest of my days, I'm happy, which is okay.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I think it is like that. Like being happy is the most important thing, right? And of course, like creating impact, because of course that was why you started the company, because you wanted to
make a difference,
impact other people, make a difference, because you had a good idea and you want to see your idea out in the world. So I think having that impact is important, and do it as much as possible, but make sure that you still like in 5 years also like be able to sleep and stuff like that. And don't have like gray hair. So so I think being happy and like and like calm and in the process. I think maybe that's for me gonna be the most important thing to be saying. Like I hope to be saying that in 5 years, that like all the it's like really chaotic now, and in 5 years that I feel like, okay, now I need to do this, I need to do that, and it's like really well structured, and I know where we're going, not like really stressed about finding new projects, you know that the market is there, stuff like that. And then you also feel like more this like calm. Easy and calm and more maybe relaxed feeling,
Nice. Cool. Those are good ambitions. Very humbling. I'm going to turn to the live audience here. Are there any questions? You can shout them out and then I'll repeat into the mic.
Yeah.
I'm just going to repeat the question for the people following online. So the question is there any plan to use data to make other drinks, alcoholic or whatever, other than Viva?
It's a
beer
good
that
question. We
they've
get
got
this almost every week. So very concretely, we're talking with another app builder.
Like you said, if you have the question a lot of times, you need to do it.
You have to do it. It's a Dutch application. I will not name it, but it's one of the bigger wine apps, and we're talking to them to collaborate with them. So wine is definitely one. The tricky part with wine is that in beer, brewers, they try to brew constant. So a duvel that you taste today is the same that you'll taste next year. A wine of this year is different, and they exploit this even as a commercial. This year was a Grand Cru. So it's the data-wise, it even becomes more difficult. So it depends which year, and data-wise, it's so wine is definitely one. We got also quite a lot of questions on gin. Gin is also one. But what's even more interesting, because you're now all thinking alcohol, what's really interesting in our algorithm is we build a kind of expert system. You have people that know a lot about something, and it can be, in our case, beer, but it also can be something on, engineering or in climate. And you could do like tests and then map this with the group that knows, and then distinct expert and non-experts, and then build expert systems on these insights, if you know what I mean. So you can exploit what we've built with our algorithms, even not on food, but on other whatever domains. And then it becomes really interesting. So we also talking to some people that might have some ideas there. But yes, it is. The only thing you need is a good base of experts. We started with 50 experts, and then people come on your platform, and you start benchmarking them whether they're an expert or not, and then the system becomes more and more intelligent. Yeah, but you can do it on wine. We're talking on wine concretely as well.
Yeah. Could be interesting to see if, for example, that if you see from the data that wines that are more consistent in taste instead of so fluctuating, that it could be something that actually changes the market.
We were this close to work together with an American company, and that was even really interesting. It goes really to the level is you say what chips you like, and the algorithm will say what wine and beer you will like as well. So it goes cross-linking taste preferences over categories.
Yeah.
And actually, again, coming back on looking at competition, don't be naive. The party that was behind it was Google. Google is working on this. So in your Google, it's not anymore a search word, but it says, I like these kinds of chips, and Google will know that you will like these and these wines and beers and spirits and whatever soda drinks as well, because it starts correlating that kind of data as well.
Yeah, power of data.
Yeah.
Any other questions here in the room? Not for now? Okay, great. I think then we've come to the end. Anything else, last words from either of you?
Yeah, if anyone's starting with something, good luck with it. Enjoy it.
Enjoy the ride.
Yeah, enjoy the ride.
Indeed.
Exactly. The ups and downs.
I would say just do it. Again, it's a cliche. Do it. Just do it. Do it when you're young. I was too old when I started. I worked in corporate life too long, and then I started entrepreneur because there was a little monkey sitting on my shoulder and you should do this. But I think you are willing to take more risks and to sleep less and do things
differently
when
it's
if
your
you're young.
own.
So if you're a student, don't hesitate. Just
do it,
and then you can go in corporate life
later. Yeah.
They will still hire you.
Yeah, they'll be even more inclined to hire you because you've got that experience and that mindset.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thanks to everybody that joined online here live as well, the speakers. I'd also like to give a special thanks to Arthur from Broadcaster, again, for all the technical setup. Catch us again next month for another Startup Stories, and please save the date for the Löwe Innovation Awards, the LIAs. They're going to take place on June the 11th in the Irish College, where we'll celebrate Löwe startups and innovation. So definitely make sure to follow our channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. For more information, we're going to do a launch about that next week. So then definitely make sure to follow that. We'll also be following up after this with our evaluation form, so make sure to fill that in so that we know your ideas, questions. If you want to invite somebody, let us know, and we'll definitely take that into consideration. And a last thank you to Studio Start, for the location that we could sit here and invite people for a live audience for our second edition. Thank you again. See you next time. Bye.